afterwards. Our speaker for today is Richard Furlong, a PROBUS Global Management Member and past president of PROBUS Canada. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the presentation by Richard. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you, Shirley. It's indeed my pleasure to introduce Richard Furlong to everyone, and I think a lot of you people know him. He is very well known. But as Shirley had mentioned, and I was going to as well, it's this morning, this afternoon, and this evening. Richard Furlong. Richard is a past president of the board of directors for PROBUS Canada and director of Ontario District 2. He completed his 6-year term as PROBUS Canada, filling many executive positions, including president. He is a member of the Newmarket PROBUS Club currently, vice president, having previously served as treasurer, vice president, president, and program chair for his club. Prior to retiring 14 years ago, Richard worked for a major chemical company in both Canada and the United States. He started his career in sales, moving to sales management and then general manager of 2 chemical businesses in Canada before finishing his career as North American sales manager for a company based in Texas. He will share his experience as a member of PROBUS and how the fellowship has enhanced his retirement. Over to you, Dick.
Thank you, Steve.
Warren has just come in.
Good morning, Warren. Okay, good morning and good day and good next day, I guess, to some of our participants this morning. This is real exciting that we can all do this, and so many areas of the world be with us today. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about PROBUS as far as global is concerned. Then we're going to get into PROBUS Canada, and we're going to talk about the life and story of PROBUS here in Canada. I just want to give you a quick summary of our history here as PROBUS Global. Obviously, we're trying to reach around the world for Provarians to enjoy the fellowship that PROBUS offers. PROBUS Global started from the remnants of the International PROBUS Network, which was founded in 1996, grew to about 166 members, but as it went through its lifespan, in 2017, it got down to about 30 to 40 members. And one of my final chores as a PROBUS Canada member, a director, was to give a presentation at a club in Northern Ontario. And on the Q&A, one of the members stood up and said, "What do you know about IPN?" And I said, "Well, nothing." And from there, we had a conversation later. And from there, I connected with Shirley, and we talked about where we are from a global standpoint. And we decided it was time to look at where we were and go through a reboot of the global aspect of PROBUS. So during our meeting, back and forth with Shirley, we did say, okay, we need to really rethink how we're approaching the global aspect of PROBUS. And so we had a number of discussions, number of meetings, and we looked at the challenges ahead and decided our mission. We would go through a reboot. We would look at what we needed to do to change the decline in IPN into a growth aspect for PROBUS Global. So when we started out, we said, okay, we need to look at what the programs are going to be for PROBUS Global. How are we going to communicate? What is going to be the structure? So then we got together with the IPN coordinators and formed a future team for PROBUS Global one of the first things we did was look at how we're going to do this. So a strategic plan was a number one item that we did, and then from there we went to our creating a global presence. So in the 2018-2019 reboot, we established a future team. Now the future team was set up as a flat organization. The structure was that the 6 people that were involved, there would be no really management structure through it, and that out of the remnants of IPM, we got going. We increased our membership, but we're still struggling a little bit, and we did get involved in some personal agendas. So recently, earlier this year, we restructured, formed the management team, and Shirley became our president. So now we each know our responsibilities and the direction we want to go. Also, then during the early days, we created a brochure on PROBUS Global. We issued a newsletter. We requested that we be listed on the websites around the world of the different PROBUS organizations. Peter Jennings came on board. Peter created a website, which today is provosglobal.org, very informative and very directional as to what we're doing as far as global is concerned. And we also created a communication system. We have our chat lines, we have our video chats, and obviously we also have our contact system where from member to member you can communicate through email if you are a PROBUS Global member. Our mission and our vision, what we were doing was to promote PROBUS Global, which in turn not only global but promote PROBUS around the world. We want to make sure we had communication systems in place. We wanted to try and establish membership around the world, each area where there's a PROBUS organization or club. Make sure that we brought people on board so we get their experiences, their setup, how they're structured. And this is obviously at the bottom here is the standard for PROBUS around the world. We sat down and said, okay, what are our goals? Certainly growth was important. Communications I talked about, certainly that was important for everybody to be able to communicate worldwide. Make sure that clubs continue to grow and maintain their structure. I know here in Canada, some of our older clubs had problems as they got older and the membership got older. They were not replacing themselves, so we lost some clubs along the way. We want to make sure that if that was happening around the world, we could give information and support. And I know I'll talk about PROBUS Canada a little later and how we put programs together as far as the older clubs were concerned. This is information I'm sure that we could share around the world if required. The other idea was if you are a traveler, obviously not in the last 8 or 9 months, but around the world, there's PROBUS members around the world that you could catch up with and learn the local culture and gain new friends. And of course, let's make sure we understand the autonomy of PROBUS. Every club is independent, every organization around the world have their own support system and their own structure. Then we did some action plans out of that. As I mentioned, we did develop a brochure early on and newsletters to make sure those were distributed as worldwide as we could. We wanted to make sure there was a link to different areas. We want to make sure people were aware of the global PROBUS website. And of course, we then changed recently to the our structure to a management team. And thank you, Shirley. She's turned our organization around. When we started with converting from IPN to PG, we had 30 members that came over from IPN. We've grown tenfold. We're now, yesterday, at 309 members in a little over 18, 24 months. So we do have a story and a message to tell, and an organization that people should enjoy. Marketing is pretty well tied in what I've been referring to earlier. The chat rooms and recently we put in video chat rooms, and making sure that our information, whether it be the brochure and newsletters, are circulated. And one of the things we put in as we'd like to do down the road at some point is have a PROBUS Global day or a week or a month. I know in Australia, I think it's a day where they have PROBUS day, and in Canada we have PROBUS month. So one of the things that we have the organizing group said wouldn't be great if we could do it on a worldwide basis. So that's one of the things we would like to achieve down the road. So that's it on PROBUS Global. Now I'm going to switch to PROBUS Canada. Oh, they're not from Canada, are they? Oh, no. Anyway, we all know that Fred and Harold were the creation of this great organization. Fred started both coming into their retirement years, and both Rotarians, and said we need to do something to fill the gap. Now that we're retiring, we had friends in business, acquaintances, people we've known for years. And all of a sudden I'm walking out of the door where I'm working and I've lost that part. So they're looking for something to fill that. And Brad said, through his Rotary contacts, we'll have a retirement club dedicated to fellowship. So he developed the campus club, and they started with the first meeting, 30 people. The next meeting was about 70 people. Interesting thought here. How did they get together? It's always over lunch, and the lunch seems to be a continuous theme through the PROBUS world. Harold was going back and forth to work on the train. He had his acquaintances, and coming up to retirement age, had the same idea, and they formed a club, and they wrestled with what they were going to call it. And finally, the theme was we're professionals and we're business people. So they, out of those two words, became PROBUS. And they got, and this once again was through Rotary, and with the Rotary connection, the campus club and PROBUS merged, and we now claim these two gentlemen as the founders of PROBUS here around the world. So thank you to Fred and Harold for everybody that's here today. Obviously, they were founded originally in the United Kingdom, and then from the United Kingdom, which was started, as I referred to, in 1965-66, we moved on to other areas of the world. New Zealand started in 1974, Australia right after that in 76, and in 1987, John Morris, who is our founder for Canadian PROBUS, was visiting in the New Zealand and Australia, and as a member of Rotary, he heard about this great invention that was going on in that area called PROBUS for retirees. So he got the idea and he brought it back to Canada. And John really was the structure and the source of our great organization here in Canada. And what we've done is created an award for PROBUS members in Canada called the John R. Morris Award for these people who really exceed expectations for PROBUS members here in Canada. John's wife Doris, who was by his side throughout the formation of PROBUS here in Canada, she was kind of in the background, but very much support and made it happen. Gave John the allowance to be out front promoting PROBUS while she did the what we refer to over here as the grunt work behind the scenes. And in recognition of that, I think it was 2015, we gave Doris the John R. Morris Award. So well deserved. Just out of curiosity, the award was started in 2006, and we've had 13 people across Canada receive the award, 10 winners. And as I mentioned, Doris in 2015. In Canada, the first club was in Cambridge, just west of Toronto. As we started out, the first 7 clubs in Canada, with Cambridge being number 1, the first 7 were men's clubs. Allison, which is just north of Toronto, formed the first ladies club and the first combined club. First combined club was numbers. I got this wrong. First combined was Allison, sorry, and then the first women's club was number 17 in Burlington. It's interesting today when we look at the numbers. Today we have 256 clubs in Canada. Things have changed a little, folks. We have 43 ladies clubs and 38 men's clubs. So it really has changed, and 175 combined clubs. So it really changed around, so which is great. That's the way it should be. And in Canada, as I mentioned, 256 clubs with about 40,000 members across the country, with the largest concentration here in Ontario and the second in British Columbia on our west coast. When we looked at the growth of PROBUS, we charted the growth in clubs across Canada up for the 33 years we've been in existence. And you see, we refer to it here in Canada as a hockey stick. And when you look at a hockey stick, when we talk about growth patterns, sales patterns, that type of thing, when we see a hockey stick tend to growth, we always will say, there's got to be more to that picture than meets the eye. What are the numbers behind, what is the facts behind those numbers? And in 2017, when I was on the board, we were reviewing these numbers and said, we look at these numbers and we looked at the growth of members, clubs versus members. They didn't kind of track the same way. So we had to dig in behind the numbers. And we were lucky at the time to have on our board a gentleman by the name of Bill Sexsmith from Vancouver, who spent his career with a large consulting company here in Canada, looking at business assessments and patterns, that type of thing. So Bill took it on himself to really look behind the numbers. And as we looked at the numbers, we had great numbers for the number of clubs. Look at that hockey stick. We had some similar type pattern with members, but there's something going on here. And Bill's analysis, what we did find, we were doing a great job in promoting new clubs. New clubs are coming on. They were initially starting with 100 members, grew to 200, 300 members. Great, and this was pushing our our numbers up. But then when you look behind it, our older clubs are suffering. Through attrition, they weren't replacing themselves. We were losing some of our old clubs. So what we did was created a task force to look at how we get behind supporting the older clubs. So what we did in putting together this program, actually, as we go through this program today and we'll see what PROBUS Canada is doing, some of the programs we put in place back in 2017, 2018 are driving the direction PROBUS Canada is going today. And first of all, let me talk a little bit about how we're set up here in Canada. We have a board of directors across Canada from different regions with an executive board of 5 people. And behind the scenes, we have our managing director, Reg Wynot. He is really the glue for PROBUS. He's the one that keeps us together here in Canada. Reg has been doing this for many years and knows all the wrinkles and so on and so forth. And really is the man that we go to for any questions. And then and Gordon has been with us many years also, looking after our financial package. When we look at the directors, what do they do? They manage the corporation. They deal with the clubs on a regular basis, get involved in anything that may be outside of the PROBUS world to make sure there's no conflict of interest. We make sure that PROBUS Canada is incorporated, is registered with the Government of Canada. So we want to make sure that all our corporate policies and bylaws and so on are followed. Key one is system promoting and developing new clubs, but also we make sure that they provide advice and guidance to existing clubs. And they also, obviously, as directors, serve on special activities and serve on as an executive, those 5 important people. And actually, we have 4 of our directors are executive with us today. Some of the other responsibility, we want to make sure they keep in touch and visit their clubs. They also, we have certificates for anniversaries, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, so on and so forth. So we make sure they get out there and present those certificates and be involved with the clubs. Important one here is to facilitate and participate in district meetings. We ask the directors to hold regional meetings. District meetings, which is all the clubs within their district, and we ask them to have these meetings with all the management people from those clubs. But the other thing we also ask them to do is have local meetings, community within their community, but 6 or 7 clubs gather together to talk about their issue, what works, what doesn't work, how do we become better support for our members. And also, obviously, make sure that the liaison between the clubs and PROBUS Canada. So, what does PROBUS Canada look at is make sure that really the experience you're going to have is exciting and beneficial and it's rewarding. And obviously, the other thing is make sure that the organization we have, make sure it's ongoing. So we did put the strategic plan together, and once again, our mission is to make sure that we serve our members, and of course, the policy of making sure that we're all free from politics, religion, and any competition. Also, what PROBUS Canada does, promote PROBUS ideals on a national basis. So we're out there making sure that the community is aware what PROBUS is. Make sure that our key point is fellowship. Make sure that the relationships we have are strictly create friends. Remind everybody that we're a social club. We're not a service club. Another important item is making sure we keep the cost to members to a minimum. That's critical because as we go through retirement and the wage structure that most of our members have certainly has changed. And talked about the board of governors and board of directors, and also PROBUS Canada does put out newsletters and information on a regular basis. We created a website. We did have a website in the reboot program back in 17, 18. The website we had was an information website. It strictly talked about number of clubs, and if you needed to know what the Constitution was or the bylaws, it was there. But it wasn't a tool for marketing, for information. If an individual was interested in PROBUS, they didn't get that kind of information. So we restructured, the website was restructured into more of a information, but more importantly, into a marketing tool. We do have a national insurance program. Each member contributes a small amount of money every year to support PROBUS Canada, and also part of that is the National Liability Insurance Program. PROBUS Canada have supplies, whether it's pins or name tags, so on and so forth, or your annual certificates, that type of thing. We did have national rendezvous, national meetings. They have not been ongoing recently, but it's something that continues to be talked about. Also, we want to make sure we support new clubs, and once again, as I mentioned, make sure that we support the current clubs. We want to make sure that as we go forward, the clubs that are new clubs are currently sponsored by other PROBUS clubs. It started out being sponsored by Rotary, like it was around the world, but recently it's been all more from the existing clubs. So make sure we recognize the clubs that go out of their way and sponsor new clubs. They have a national budget that's available to anybody that is interested in knowing what the finances behind PROBUS Canada is concerned. And National PROBUS Month was established in March in Canada. The idea being was March was the year that the Cambridge Club was first founded, #1 club. That has evolved a little bit into a selection now, whether you'd like to have your PROBUS Month in March or April. And the theme for National PROBUS Month, be a friend, bring a friend, and make a friend. So that's the PROBUS status here in Canada. Now, if we look at from the board standpoint, what are the current objectives? And I'm not up to 100% on this because I'm not currently a member of the board, obviously, but they're quite clear and straightforward. Certainly coming out of this pandemic, we really need to make sure that the clubs are in a good position in whatever they need to make sure they're ongoing and have the support from PROBUS Canada. Increase the use of the website. The website certainly has evolved since 2017 and 18. Go on there and you can see a whole bunch of PROBUS information. Also, as I mentioned, we need to continue to market who PROBUS is and make sure we support the recruitment program. And I mentioned earlier about the district meetings, and the board certainly supports those. And then there's also more regional meetings where in a district meeting, you can have anywhere from, I would say, 25 to 30 clubs involved. But on a regional meeting, we have more intimate, probably 5 to 7 clubs. Just get together and make sure we understand what works for one and support the other clubs. Also, as I mentioned previously, the PROBUS month, and this is a creation of Steve Campbell when he was the president, and it's been celebrated now for about 7 years. And from a standpoint of PROBUS Canada, through the directors, increase that communication level. Make sure that we have the communication channels open. As I mentioned about National PROBUS Month, be a friend, bring a friend, and make a friend. That is our theme for that month. And that was replaced, that was get connected, stay connected was replaced by be a friend. But that's the important part. Let's make sure that you become involved in PROBUS, that you get connected with other members so nobody's left behind. The PROBUS website, we created a frame for our license plates here in Canada, and you can see those all over the country. This one happens to be, I think Marlene's from New Brunswick. And once again, our PROBUS website, provostorg. Go there and you'll find a lot of great information. And that brings us to somewhere in the world, it's lunchtime. So hope you enjoyed this, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about PROBUS Canada and the start of PROBUS Global. Thank you very much.